Members, we've already formed a quorum and we've passed our scheduled starting time. I now call the meeting of the panel on Home Affairs to order. Item 1 on the agenda, information papers issued since the last meeting. After the last meeting, the Secretariat issued 2 information papers to members. The details have already been set out on the revised agenda issued on the 5th of December. If there are no comments, we note the papers. Item 2 on the agenda, date of next meeting and items for discussion. The Secretariat has already issued a list of outstanding items for discussion as well as a list of follow-up actions. Our next meeting will be held on the 9th of January, Friday at 8:30 a.m. in Conference Room 3 of this complex. 2 items are proposed for discussion: development of football in Hong Kong and outcome of the public consultation on enhanced measures against shopfront extensions. As for these 2 proposed items, members, any comments? No? Then we confirm that these 2 items will be our discussion items for the next meeting. Another special meeting will be convened. If members may recall, at the last meeting of this panel, a number of members requested that this panel on the public consultation document on building management ordinance, a public hearing be held. The Secretariat has already prepared some time slots for us. It's now proposed that we have that special meeting on the 24th of January. The deadline of the consultation will end on the 2nd of February 2015. To allow members of the public to express their opinion, the proposed slot is 24th of January, Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If many members of the public are to attend, we may have to extend that meeting to the afternoon of that day. So would you please mark that on your diary, the 24th of January, for this special meeting. If there are no further comments, the Secretariat will upload a circular to the LegCo website to invite deputations and organizations to express their opinion. In accordance with our past practice, the 18 district councils will also be invited to express their views. All right, we now proceed to our discussion items. Please invite the officials to come in. The first discussion item, construction of the East Kowloon Cultural Center in Ngau Tau Kok. This is a financial proposal, so all other LegCo members have been invited to participate in this discussion. As this is a financial proposal, I'd like to draw your attention to ROP 83 capital A in relation to declaration of interest. In accordance with ROP 83A, at our meetings, members who have a direct or indirect pecuniary interest on a particular item, no motion should be moved by that member. And there are also voting requirements. And if any member has any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to a particular item, under ROP 83A, a declaration and disclosure should be made before discussion. Mr. Zhang Dak-sing, Secretary for Home Affairs, will lead us in this discussion, and the papers have already been issued. Secretary for Home Affairs, SHA. Madam Chairman, I'm very happy to, together with colleagues from the LCSG and the ASD, to introduce to you this proposal on the construction of the East Kowloon Cultural Center, EKCC. The scale and positioning of the center have already been set out in the paper, so I won't dwell on the details. This center has been expected by East Kowloon residents for over 20 years. In East Kowloon, for normal art performance venues, we only have one. That is Ngau Chi Wan Civic Center with 354 seats. It was constructed 27 years ago. East Kowloon has a dense population. The administration would like to have more leisure and cultural facilities for the district, but it has not been easy to identify suitable sites. In 2006, Ngau Tau Kok Lower Estate was to be redeveloped, so the government proposes that at the junction of Ngau Tau Kok Road and Kwun Tong Road, just near the Ngau Tau Kok station, a cross-district cultural center be built to address the needs of the area. In November 2006, LCSD, in accordance with the development of the EKCC, consulted the Kwun Tong District Council and started preliminary planning work. Kwun Tong District Council and district residents asked the administration to carry out the work as soon as possible. In 2010 and 2012, the LCSD consulted Kwun Tong District Council on the latest progress and introduced the design to them and got their support. In November 2013, in relation to the concept design, the Kwun Tong District Council was consulted and the DC supported the plan. From the end of last year to the beginning of this year, on the design of the center, all sectors of the community, including Kwun Tong District Council, the Partnership Committee, and the Program Development Committee, district art groups, and art performing organizations, as well as the main hirers of LCSD venues were consulted. They all support the proposed plan. This center will have multi-purpose facilities to cope with all forms of performances and production work of the art groups. Schools and performing groups can stage performances there, and the public area of this center can suit all sorts of activities. Upon commissioning, the center will become the landmark of the district. We've already taken care of the views of the stakeholders to ensure that the facilities are pragmatic and meet the needs of the users. We'll also maintain as low a budget as possible. Any views will proceed to funding application with the PWSC and the FC as soon as possible, such that this item, with the support of the art and culture community, can start as soon as possible. Thank you. SHA, 8 members would like to speak. 4 minutes per member, including questions and answers. Ma Fong Kwok, Tan Kap Piu, Chung Shu Kan, Ip Kok Him, Leung Chi Chung, Chair Wai Chun, Deputy Chairman, and myself. Any more? Chang Lai Wan. Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Eventually, the administration decided to build this EKCC. I fully support that. I recall that I moved into Kwun Tong at 4 years old, and when I was 7 or 8, when I started to know something, my family told me that we would have a city hall or town hall. But when we left the district in 1985, we did not see that town hall. And the oldest housing estate was demolished 15 years ago. So we do owe the residents of this district such a center. So I fully support this proposal. I hope that upon commissioning, the center can suit the needs of the district residents. In fact, after the handover, we didn't see that many cultural venues commissioned, except WKCD. So, some people have doubts. They say that WKCD and EKCC would be completed in phase, but still the needs of the art and culture sectors and the performing groups could not be fully met. Given the introduction by the government, I don't have strong views on the proposed facilities. The SHA said that they would strictly control costs and expenditure. Well, the existing facility had been in place for over 20 years already, so we badly need more facilities. With WKCD commissioned, the whole layout for the whole of Hong Kong would change. So I'd like to know the overall role of this EKCC. What functions will it be playing? Will the division of work clear enough? And what about its future positioning? Is it clear enough? Can we compare this center with similar facilities in Hong Kong? Madam Chairman, I'd like to thank Mr. Ma for his support and questions. EKCC and WKCD are complementary to each other. As set out in the paper, the two facilities have different positioning. For WKCD, we would like to develop it into a world-class cultural district. We hope that it will become a cultural hub to manifest Hong Kong's status as a metropolis, which is our vision. EKCC is a cross-district facility situated in Kwun Tong District. It will serve the major organizations in that cluster of districts. Of course, EKCC will come under LCSD. WKCD has an independent statutory body for operation. The overall management and operations, policies and objectives of WKCD will be different. EKCC, under the management of the LCSD, will follow the established mode of management of the LCSD, and priority will be given to district organizations. Mr. Tan Kiap Hiu. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ma introduced the history of this to us, so we'll obviously support the proposal. From the viewpoint of works, I'm worried about the budget of the construction work. $3.9 billion, almost $4 billion. How much has been reserved for inflation or price fluctuation? What percentage? Are we going to have overspending problems?
Well, for standard housing units, then it's easier to make a projection. But then for this project, there will be a design element and sophisticated and up-to-date facilities being installed. So what is the proposed budget? And secondly, I would like to know how the HAB sees district needs for cultural facilities. We see that the cultural center is on the high end, and then next the city hall, and then followed by civic centers. So this is the impression that we get. It's still the positioning of all these centers. Now we have this EKCC for Kowloon East. I would like to turn to New Territories East. Well, you may say that we have a Sha Tin Town Hall, but together with Ma On Shan and then in Shangshui and Taipo, we've got a town center, well, with only auditorium of 400 to 500 seats. So how are you going to respond to the district needs? Tongchong, another. Well, in the next 10 years, there will be a population of 300,000 people. So there is just a small community hall with 200 and 300 folding chairs there. Well, there is a pressing need for cultural facilities in every district. I've heard many views, not just in Kowloon East, Anti-East, but also in Tongchong. There have been strong demands for cultural facilities. As for the cost effectiveness and the construction costs, I'll defer to the RHSD to take that question, and also the positioning of the cultural facilities, LCOD will take that question. RHSD, who to take that question? On the construction cost, it includes many items. The site is rather large. We've got building services, drainage services, theaters and installations. We have to make all these to cater to the needs of the users. As for inflation, we have provided adequate contingencies and taken reference from trends in tender prices recently. We have also provided for price fluctuations. The percentage is from 25 to 26%. Contingencies together with price provision for price fluctuations, right? Yes. Well, so we think that should be adequate to cope with the inflation in the construction period. Any other official to respond? Yes, well, time's up, perhaps in the next round. Mr. Christopher Chung. Madam Chair, I welcome this EKCC. Before the LegCo was disbanded, we made plans for a number of cultural facilities, and Kwun Tong was the first one on the list. At that time, East Kowloon was acutely in need of cultural facilities, and cultural center is bigger than the town hall, with an auditorium of some 1,000 seats. But I'm worried about the acoustic effect and other ancillary facilities. For all performing venues in LCSD, the best sound acoustic effect is found in City Hall and Tsuen Wan Town Hall. They are the oldest cultural facilities, but then they are deemed the best in terms of acoustic effect. But for the cultural center, there have been a lot of criticisms. And after the handover, the several front rows seats were demolished, and the stage was sort of expanded to achieve better acoustic effect. So we can't make accurate calculations on such acoustic effect. So if we are to spend quite such an amount on the cultural center EKCC, can you do a better job in ensuring that the acoustic effect is up to standard, is better than, say, the City Hall in Central and the Tsuen Wan Town Hall built some 40 to 50 years ago? And I hope that the administration should also pay more attention to the support facilities. Well, for some town halls, they are not good enough for performances. They are just there for people to hold residents' meetings. There is a stage, but no backstage, no dressing room. Well, for the top-notch artists, they need independent dressing rooms. So please pay attention to that. Please position the EKCC as a territory-wide facility, a first-class facility. What is the positioning, Director? Thank you, Madam Chair, for your question. Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chang, for your question. This is a cross-district cultural center, and it will be a very practical type of design. We would pay attention to the stage, the sound equipment, and also the hanging poles of the stage. We would attach a lot of importance to that, and we would take reference from the latest stage designs in the world. And we would make sure that the facilities can support state-of-art performances with high-tech needs. We will have backstage technical support area and rehearsal and preparatory areas, and the poles, lighting, sound systems, all these we will attach a lot of importance. The small theater is also important, and if the sound equipment is good enough, then that can also be used as a studio for recording. Mr. Yip Kwok Him. Madam Chair, I'm very happy that the government raises the proposal to build this EKCC in the district. District councillors have been of the view that there are insufficient cultural facilities. The more, the merrier. On the positioning of the EKCC, I agree with what is stated in the paper. And that will be complementary to the WKCD. I'm concerned that now you are saying that this will be a cultural center, and in the districts we do have a lot of civic centers. So what is the relationship between these two? Civic center is more of a district basis, and there is a great need for that. For example, in Sai Kung, Chang Kwan O, Wong Tai Sin. Well, there has been a need for a civic center in all these districts. Civic center is on a district basis, but then cultural center serves more than one district. So can you delineate the division or positioning of cultural centers and civic centers? Say, what is the population that would justify a civic center? Well, because there has been a strong demand for civic center in the district. Director? According to the Hong Kong Planning Standards and Guidelines, we are planning cultural centers on a territory-wide basis, but then at the same time, we would also be looking at the needs for cultural facilities in larger districts. For EKCC, our positioning is that it will serve 4 districts among the 18 districts in Hong Kong. The location is easily accessible. It is accessible by MTR, buses and minibuses. So it is accessible by the 4 districts it is going to serve. We would like to take care of the needs of the community bodies and arts bodies in these 4 districts. Now, as for the territory-wide planning basis, we have 14 cultural facilities and 2 major coliseums, which can also offer or be used as venues for major performances. We will continue to look at the needs of the districts and to see if additional facilities are needed. For East Kowloon Cultural Center, we hope to serve through that 4 districts, the community bodies and the arts organizations in these 4 districts. Do you have any long-term plans for building civic centers? As I said, we will be looking at the needs of all districts in Hong Kong and make planning accordingly. It's not that every district will have a civic center. We will look at the overall needs of Hong Kong. We know that some community bodies are requesting for civic center in NT East. Mr. Leung Ti-Chang, I support such facilities. Cultural Center is a cross-district arts and cultural facility. As some members have already said, it is best that there is one in each district. I know that some districts are still lacking such facilities. Well, of course, we are happy to see that EKCC is being proceeded with, but then it might be still too distant for some people in Hong Kong. You said that this is a cross-district cultural center serving 4 districts, but if I live in Sai Kung, I would not be going to Kwun Tong to watch, say, a cultural activity. So I think it would be best if it would be even be better if we built smaller civic centers instead of a large cultural center. Now, if we go by the district demarcation for LegCo elections, we've got 5 districts, and it will be good if we have one cultural center in each of these 5 districts. And it would be better to build larger centers than smaller centers. So I fully support this proposal. Now, apart from population projection, would you also consider factors such as the 18 administrative districts as a factor for planning your cultural activities, i.e., for each of the 18 districts, there is a cultural facility. For example, Kwai Ching Theatre for Kwai Ching district, say, with an arts facility of a capacity of below 1,000 seats, so that every district is served by some basic facilities. For example, in some districts, we just have community halls. So how can we promote cultural activities using such community halls? I know that some cultural facilities are fully booked. The occupancy rate is as much as 80%.
So promotion has been very difficult. So can I ask the Bureau, the SHA, whether or not we can have a new civic center in each and every district, or perhaps a theater? SHA? Chairman, thank you very much, Mr. Leung, for your comments. Indeed, now throughout Hong Kong, there's a very pressing need for performing venues. For existing facilities under the LCSD, they're 100% booked. Many applicants had been rejected. They're actually queuing up, so we're actually under huge pressure. When we construct these cultural facilities, one factor of consideration is, of course, distribution, and then population, as well as the form of performing arts. There are various demands. Some concerts may need tens of thousands of seats. For others, several hundred will suffice. Mr. Tony Jie, thank you, Chairman. First of all, I, of course, support this cross-district EKCC. I also hope that apart from design considerations like the appearance, the practical needs should also be considered, as mentioned by our colleagues. We would like the facility to be sustainable, at least for quite some time. Chairman, I'd like to seek clarification on a point. That is in relation to application for performing facilities. According to the paper, in 2013-14, an average of 70% of applications were not entertained. Will this cross-district facility help? If so, to what extent? And then about construction cost. Information made available to me indicate that, as the SHA said, this has been in demand for over 20 years, and the estimated cost had been increasing, jumping from $130 million to $3.2 billion in 2009. What about operational expenses and proceeds? Will this center be self-financing, or will the government be offering subsidy? A few questions. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the questions. For the whole project, practical needs will be the first and foremost consideration, so we'll consult the users. The venues and their functions will be very practical. As for the usage rate, in the past, we could only satisfy the needs of 30% of the applicants. We turn away 70%. Now, 5 facilities will be provided by this center. We hope that will help ease the pressure on us. But in fact, demands are ever growing. The Koshan redevelopment project was completed in October, and the hiring rate has already attained 100%. So we would like to catch up with demand. Once this EKCC is commissioned, it will be able to ease demands. EKCC will be managed by the LCSD. In accordance with our established policies, we'll operate this facility. For hiring of facilities, we'll have a fee policy, fee structure, in accordance with established practices. For charities, we won't have full cost recovery, just to show us our support and encouragement. Overall speaking, this facility won't be able to be totally self-financing. As for operations, we'll have a holistic approach. As for design, the latest proposed construction cost at MOD will be $3.98 billion. We've made reference to the designs and functions proposed to us. Mr. Yu, we now have civic centers for the districts, and EKCC will be a territory-wide and cross-district facility. We now have the cultural center and then the Kai-Tak Sports Complex, and now we have this EKCC. Apparently, they are playing their respective roles. It really depends on government planning. In Hong Kong, how many civic centers do we need? How many cultural centers do we need? I don't know whether the administration has adopted a holistic approach in planning all these, or is the administration just responding to complaints. If it is the latter, once this EKCC is completed, you receive complaints from other districts. Some of my friends told me that the experts and professionals don't mind going to another district for performances. So tell me the shortfall in the territory-wide sense and the district sense. SHA? Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your questions. Yes, we have different demands from different districts. But as a government department, we need to adopt a comprehensive viewpoint. We've heard the voices of district residents. The demand for art and culture facilities is very keen. But then we have to strike a balance. We also have demands in terms of land, housing, hospitals, etc. And then financially, how should we make arrangements? In recent times, we've seen another problem, that is about the construction workforce. From the viewpoint of culture and administration, every time when we propose a cultural facility, we have to set our priorities and take care of district demands as well. As for coordination on the part of the government, we have to strike a balance in planning, and we have a dedicated unit for this. Mr. Yu, do you have 5-year, 10-year, or even 20-year planning? And what each district will get in the whole process? Can you give us some information? SHA? Internally, we do have some considerations about our vision, but then we have to take care of reality as well. Can we actually implement our vision? For example, the government has to consider where to have an additional school, an additional hospital, and so forth. But we have to take care of land resources, financial resources, and human resources. So we cannot make any public announcement when things are not ripe yet. Including me, we'll have 4 more speakers. I have to draw a line there. Sorry, I cannot entertain any more members. Otherwise, we'll be behind schedule. Dr. Cheng Lai-wan. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I still have a question for the SHA. Well, a certain district may need a certain facility for its residents for art and culture performances. Well, there is such a need. For Kowloon City, we still get Koshan Theatre only. But of course, the new wing has just been commissioned. But we have a long queue of applicants waiting to book the venue. So, we definitely have demands. At the same time, we're going to have the WKCD, where big and small theaters there, the Shiqu Center, performance venues, etc., etc. And apparently, in future, in Kai Tak, when the multipurpose sports complex is completed, we'll also have similar facilities. When Mr. Ma Fung Kwok said that he had been aspiring for a performance venue since childhood. Well, a few decades have elapsed. during this period, we've already got some new facilities. I'm worried that all these facilities may become saturated because we're talking about public money, government subsidy, and so forth. So have you worked out a very detailed budget? SHA? Thank you, Dr. Chung. I think Dr. Chung is worried about excessive provision of such facilities, and we may lack an audience in future. I think Dr. Chung can rest assured that when WKCD was planned, we had been forward-looking, and we did have a projection about audience. The assessment result back then was that demand would still exceed supply in future. If we maintain our existing art and culture policy, if we still want to attract performance troops or groups from outside Hong Kong, then we'll still be badly in need of such facilities. And we have to continue to build these facilities. Thank you, SHA. I understand that in the past, proceeds from recreational and cultural facilities only took up 20% of the overall expenditure. Around 80% of the expenditure was actually borne by the government. In future, we'll try to increase proceeds for commercial users should you not get back more from them. But of course, for NGOs, etc., perhaps you can charge them less. SHA Chairman, in simple terms, we have pop art and culture as well as the so-called more elite art and culture. We would like to promote elite art and culture. For pop art and culture, we always have other promoters. For traditional art and culture, the government would like to subsidize them. At the moment, that only takes up 1% of the overall public expenditure borne by the government. Well, if you look at EKCC, well, Mr. Potter, in as early as 2005, almost 9 years ago, when we discussed the redevelopment of Lo Wang Ao Tau Kok Estate, the government already wrote us a blank check. It's now for the government to honor that check. I believe all members and all district councillors would support this project, which will be a major facility in the district to ease demand. This EKCC will be just like an oasis in the area for people to take a break. For the podium, I understand that there are different ideas in terms of design. I'd like to know the latest proposal in that regard. The paper mentions that the center will be connecting a number of middle-class residential establishments in the area, including Telford Garden and Amoy Garden. For many years, Amoy Garden residents would like to have a pedestrian footbridge leading to the other side of the road, such that they don't need to go down to the ground level.
So it seems that there have been some delays in such planning. So the administration, have you make that kind of planning? Is there any proposal that you have in mind? Thank you. Director, please. When we planned for EKCC, we pay a lot of attention to the greening and the open space. There will be 11,500 square meters of open space, including ground level and the podium level. We hope that this will become an oasis in that district. Now, for this public open space, apart from using for public enjoyment, the podium can be used for outdoor performances, activities, and entertainment activities. Second point on accessibility or connectivity. This EKCC will connect to the exit B of MTR Kowloon Bay MTR station. And we know that for Amoy Garden, the residents are asking for a footbridge leading directly to the EKCC. We've noted that request and we've reserved some space for that. Now, if this project really goes ahead, then we can do that. There is a space reserved for connecting up to the Amoy Gardens. So we have an open mind on that. Well, that part has not been included in our present proposal, present works proposal. We note that the demand and we've reserved some space for that. Yes, Mr. Tony Yik. I would like to declare my interest. I am an office bearer of the Drama Society. Now, this is a very densely populated area. We need facilities of this kind. What the problem we are facing is that we have the booking period is too short. Now, if the booking period can be longer, then it will help drive costs down, and that will also drive down the ticket fee. Now, you've got an amount, some $4 billion, but you don't have a breakdown of the various facilities. What is the area of the individual facilities? So I would like to make an assessment on whether the facilities are costly. So can you give us that information after the meeting? Yes, we can do that. So it's my turn now. Before I went down to the district, I, well, like many members, thought that Hong Kong is a cultural desert. But then after I went on visits to the districts, I am moved by many community arts organizations which are promoting culture and art in the districts. They've done a lot of work. There are different formats. There are dance, music, pop music, drama, and other performances. And they share a common grievance, and that is they don't think that there are enough performance facilities around. They can rehearse on their own, and they can try to identify their own audience. But then for the sake of finding the right venues, they come to us, district councillors, and ask for more space. Well, they are even willing to put up with community halls. Now, 70% of the applications have been rejected. That's disappointing. We want to build Hong Kong into a cultural hub by having WKCD, and we hope that Hong Kong people can take part in cultural activities. What the government can do is to provide enough venues for arts bodies and audience at affordable costs and prices. The district art groups are actually offering a lot of free entertainment to people in the districts, and a number of them have treated us as their other career. Well, maybe their children have grown up and they are now free to take part in arts, cultural activities, and their self-esteem has been boosted as a result. So, Secretary, please do more in providing arts venues. I know that there are a number of challenges. Well, but this is a very humble demand, and we've not been able to meet with that demand for a long, long time. So this is really heart-rending. We hope that you can build facilities of different kinds, but I appreciate that that can't be done overnight. But I have this observation. Arts or performing groups, because of historic reasons, they may have different requests for arts facilities, and their waiting time differs, and their chances of successfully getting a venue are different. So have you considered consolidating your resources so that you can increase the chance for these arts bodies to get a venue successfully and make the system fairer? Well, perhaps I'll defer to the D of LCS to take that question. Thank you. We know that there are pressing demands. So we have a fair scoring system, and for each venue, we do have a scoring system which treats everyone fairly, so that the venues can be allocated in a fair manner. Well, for every venue, we have a venue partnership program, and the partners are given priority in booking venue, and we will hope to give them more support in that sense. But overall speaking, we know that there is a great demand, and some venues are more popular than others, of course, and we encourage performing groups to hold a more open attitude and can and are willing to go to more remote venues, and that will increase their chance of getting a venue. Administration, have you considered or done any assessment on how to enhance utility effectiveness or effectiveness of the use of the venues? Well, we are doing that on a continuous basis. Well, I've drawn a line, but then Mr. Lam Tai Fai has requested to speak. I can only give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes, please. Because we have to move on to the next item. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, the Occupy Central movement had a soft landing, ended peacefully, but then there's still a lot of grievances in the community. And a solution, I think, is for the government to provide more arts and cultural activities, and that can help in addressing grievances among people, including the young people. So we must first then to have venues in order to do that. And I think I'm fairly familiar with the location of EKCC. I've served in the VTC in Kowloon Bay for a number of years, so I'm quite familiar with the district. This EKCC can provide arts and cultural facilities to people of Hong Kong, and that can also help revitalize the district. This is an old district, and that can instill vigor into that district. So I'm fully in full support of that project. But as you know, there has been overspending in many government projects in recent years. You blame that on inflation, rising labor costs and material costs. Well, that should have been taken into account in the outset. That should not be excuses. The budget is $3.998 million. Well, how does that compare to construction costs of other venues, cultural centers in Hong Kong? I'm just worried that there will be overspending in the future, and then we may block you in seeking additional funding, and then the project can't be commissioned in the end. So this is my worry. Well, the designs, the environment, and the bases and foundations of different projects differ. So it's difficult to make a comparison. But then the colleague from RHSD has said that adequate provision has been made to take into account of inflation, contingency, and so on. Well, can you make comparisons of theaters of similar sizes? Well, even for that, it's difficult. Even if the theater has the same capacity, well, it may be put into different uses, and the surrounding environment is different. So it's difficult to make a direct comparison. So I think, well, we've spent enough time on this item. So before I conclude the discussion, I'll ask members, do you agree that this proposal be forwarded to the PWSC and FC for consideration? Yes, agree? Mr. Frankie Yik said that, and also Mr. Lam said that too few statistics have been provided here. So can the administration give us more justifications on your assessment, or else it will be difficult for us to scrutinize the paper in PWSC. So, Director, please go back and ask your colleagues to provide us with more figures before we take it forward to the PWSC. Next item is the signature project of Shamshui District Council. So this is a financial proposal, and as other members have been invited to attend the meeting, I would like to bring members' attention to Rule 33A of the Rules of Procedure, which is applicable to this proposal. The Secretariat has also compiled a background for members' reference. Secretary, please take us through this paper. In the 2013 policy address, the CE said that a grant of $1 billion would be allocated to each district council to take forward this signature project scheme. Every scheme has been advocated by the district council, and it's up to them to identify the relevant partner and the criteria that the project should have long-term benefits to the district. 1 to 2 schemes can be selected, and they can include both works and non-works parts. And the 18 districts have already come up with 27 projects, and the Huaiqing signature project, the project has been given the finances by FC in July, and it will be start going in the September. For Wong Tai Sin, their project has been supported by the FC in July, and for Shamshui District, there will be 2 projects. One is the Shakit Mei Community Services Center, and then the other one is the Meifu Neighborhood Activity Center. Today, we will take members through the Shakit Mei Community Services Center and how the project will bring long-term benefits to Shamshui. As for the other project, it will be presented later on. We are happy to listen to members' views, and this center for Shakit Mei has to dovetail with the timetable of the Shakit Mei Phase 3 public housing project. And if we get the approval from this committee, we will be taking forward the project to the PWSC and FC as soon as we can. Now, I'll defer to Mr. Mock and Mr. Kwok to take us through the paper. Who? This is a signature project scheme. In early 2013, Shamshui District Council established a dedicated committee, and from March to September, we conducted extensive consultation within the district.
In 同埋訴求係由於
In Shamshui Po, with quite many low-income families and elderly people as well as new immigrants, so we're badly in need of support services. During the consultation period, district residents and organizations clearly indicated that they would like to have district facilities meeting the needs of different sectors of the community. We received 70 submissions as well as feasibility proposals responding to what these facilities should be. This Shakit Mei community services as well as the Meifu neighboring services were eventually proposed. For Shakit Mei Community Services Center, it should provide 3 core items: to take care of child care and nursery services, short-term food support, and medical services, to take care of the needs of different groups of residents. Besides, Shamshui Po is a developed district, so site selection has not been easy. we have to make sure that the site is near to the service targets. So we eventually chose a housing authority site by the side of Mayho House. The HA would like to build Shek Kip Mei Estate Phase 3. So the Home Affairs Department will make arrangements such that after funding approval is obtained from the Finance Committee of the LegCo, this center can be built in Shek Kip Mei, and we can expedite the project. In terms of operation, in April this year, Sham Shui Po District Council invited organizations to submit voluntary service proposals, and eventually we received 8 submissions. After a selection exercise, Po Leong Kuk had been chosen as the partner by Sham Shui Po District Council. The HAD is now closely liaising with Po Leong Kuk to work out the operation and design details. In future, Po Leong Kuk will be suitably monitored. That will ensure, for the purpose of monitoring needs, Po Leong Kuk and HAD will sign a service agreement to set out all these details. After the commissioning of the center, Sham Shui Po District Council will still monitor it as a signature project, will still play that role. Po Leong Kuk is one of the biggest charitable organizations in Hong Kong. It has rich experience in this regard with professional knowledge and social resources, so it's a reliable partner. The Sham Shui Po District Council very much hope that upon the commissioning of the center, it can serve the general public of Hong Kong. We hope that it can serve 110,000 visitor trips. Together with Po Leong Kuk, will start a whole series of promotion activities, roving exhibitions, as well as member recruitment would be launched to enhance public knowledge on the center. The Sham Shui Po District Council is of the view that the center will benefit the vulnerable group of Sham Shui Po. I'll invite the Sham Shui Po District Officer, Mr. Mok, to do a presentation as well. Please be brief. Chairman, perhaps I should provide some technical information to members. As our chairman pointed out just now, there will be community services as well as medical services in the center. Community service will include child care services for children between 0 to 6 years old. Low-cost meals will be provided under the short-term meal support. The Po Leong Kuk will also provide a whole range of medical services like acupuncture in the center. And for the elderly, fees may be exempted. Every year the center can serve 70,000 and 40,000 odd people, altogether 11 and 10,000. To enhance the sustainability of the center, the Po Leong Kuk will flexibly make use of the space available to create more earnings. And we want to see a wide variety of activities staged by a wide variety of organizations in the center so as to make full use of the center. We'll first of all sign a 5-year service agreement contract with Po Leong Kuk. And then the District Council and the HAD will, in accordance with the degree of satisfaction of the services provided by Po Leong Kuk, to see whether the contract will be renewed once every 3 years. As for the works themselves, 706 square meters of the center will be created with nurseries, services and rooms for school children, rooms for medical services, and other ancillary services. Members can refer to the floor plan in Annex 3 to the paper. We'll apply for $59 million from the Finance Committee. In MOD terms, the construction and relevant cost will be $50 million, and then $3 million for hiring NCSE staff and publicity and promotion activities. We've also set aside for Polangkok a 5% one-off subsidy. That is no more than $2.6 million for commissioning, maintenance, services after the commissioning of the project. This is in line with the principle for a one-off subsidy for the partner. In Sham Shui Po, there will be 2 projects. On top of this one, we'll have this Mei Fu Neighboring Activity Center. And to match the timetable for Phase 3 of Shek Kip Mei Estate, we'll appoint the HA to take up the project for us. If the Shek Kip Mei Community Services Center has your support, we'll apply to the Finance Committee for funding. Works will start in 2015 and be completed in 2018. This project starts with concern for people's livelihood, and we've got support from the District Council. The center will serve a wide variety of district residents. We would like to have your support such that we can seek funding from the FC as soon as possible. Comments and questions are welcome. Who would like to speak? Chang Lai Wen, Tang Ka Piu, Lam Tai Fai, Tony Jie, Frederick Fong, and myself. I'll draw a line there due to time constraint. I propose 3 minutes for each member. Short questions, short answers. Dr. Chang Lai Wan. Thank you, Chairman. Well, this time, Sham Shui Po is putting forth the signature project, which I find very, very meaningful. Well, this is not an ordinary one-off facility for people to play with. It will serve the public for a long, long time. And I heard that Mei Fu will get an activity room for the elderly. We're bad in need of that. Mei Fu is a middle-class satellite city, which is starting to age. You can see elderly people walking around everywhere. So with the proposed study room, they can have exchanges and activities. That is to plow back something to the elderly, and also something for the middle class, okay? And then for this, Shek Kip Mei Community Services Center in Sham Shui Po is a good idea. I really have to commend our District Council Chairman. Well, the government has given you this site, but then you are drafting Polangkok in. Have you sought their consent already? Anyway, it's a good idea because Polangkok comprises a group of enthusiastic people that are willing to give us money. In Sham Shui Po and Shek Kip Mei, there are many elderly people who need our help. So I fully support this Sham Shui Po project. Thank you, Chairman. No need to respond, right? Next, Mr. Tan Ka Piu. Chairman, I of course support this project. It's the 3rd district that we're supporting. We're talking about a funding level of $100 million. I'm thinking of the relationship between district councils and LegCo. This is a highly risky project. Why? They're talking about $60 million of subvention, $30 million left to the district. The work progress will definitely be affected by our agenda. $60 million may become $66 million. Are you going to seek supplementary funds. You have consulted the district community. Why is it that you are still queried in LegCo? If really, unfortunately, this project is voted down in the PWSC or even the FC, what will happen? It's worthwhile for us to think about this. We already have a good set of procedures. Sometimes the conclusion may be worse than those reached under the consensus of LegCo members. Can district councils get away from LegCo proceedings such that we can have a more efficient approach in that district matters can be resolved at the district level immediately? SHA? Indeed, as the honourable member said, this huge sum of $100 million has to go through established procedures. That is, to go to the Finance Committee. Well, can district matters be resolved at the district level and district opportunities be mastered at the district level? I believe we'll encounter this issue again when we go to the next item. But this has something to do with the administrative system. Well, SHA, there's in the basic law, nothing is mentioned about $30 million. If the district council has made a decision, it shouldn't be required to go to LegCo, because theoretically the LegCo can veto this project approved by the Shamsherpo District Council. Well, this is a meaningful comment. I'll try to see whether a block approval can be granted to district councils. Well, this is a concern because all 18 districts will have to come to the FC and there may be congestion, so to speak, of these proposals. Mr. Lam Tai Fai, well, the signature project is really moving on too slowly. Very soon we'll get the third policy address from the CE, but still in many districts, the projects have not been implemented. Well, I harbor a great deal of resentment. Same with the public. My resentment can be resolved, perhaps, but not the public's. It's time for the SHA to give us a checklist, because you also have to be accountable to your supervisor. That is whether or not progress has been ideal. Well, the ceiling is $100 million, as mentioned by Tang Ka-piu. During the last session, we always had overspending. And if we have overspending for a particular project, will other projects be affected? Will the other project be modified? So all these are interrelated. So how are you going to go about it? Are you going to complete this project first and then see how much money is left for your next project? Now, all these considerations are interrelated. As Chang Lai-wan said, you got the Poland Cook in. Have you sought their comment? 3 years after 3 years, can they finance themselves? Yes, of course, Poland Cook is very rich, but it doesn't mean that it is willing to continue with the project forever. If they don't want to continue, that will be a headache for you.
So, if there is overspending on the first project, will the second project be affected? How can you make sure that the project can be self-financing? Well, what Mr. Lam referred to as the risk, well, it really exists. So we don't want to see too much delay of such projects. But then we still have to go through the established procedures of the government. Now, as to whether Poland Cook can sustain its operation, well, I have every faith in them. They can continuously operate this project. Now, what about if there is overspending of the first project? What will happen? And what is your timetable of presenting the second project to us? We are very concerned about the progress. The Shamshepo District Council has already said that a neighborhood activity center will be built in Meifu, and our timing is that it will be presented in March. Now, members can refer to the Annex 7 for a list of the preliminary proposals from 18 districts. Next one, Tony Chair. Madam Chair, I share the same question as Mr. Lam Tai Fai. The Shamshepo District welcomes both of these signature projects. You said that the Meifu project will be presented to us in March. But then we want these to proceed together because there may be synergy between these two projects. Is there a synergy effect? Please clarify. Secondly, for the budget, the non-civil service contract staff, you will be entrusting the project to the housing department. How come that we need such a non-civil service contract staff? Can you explain? Yes, District Officer, thank you. About the synergy effect, in selecting what project to work on, the District Council is very clear that we would embark on projects which will satisfy the needs of various sectors of the Shamshepo community. So going by that criterion, we would like to help more the underprivileged groups. But for the Meifu project, it's a neighborhood activity center. It will provide a more relaxed environment and to satisfy the needs of residents for entertainment and cultural and arts activities. So these are the two projects which we hope to satisfy the needs of a vast sector of the community. Now, it's true that we will entrust the projects to the HA, the Community Services Center, but then we don't have technical staff on our own. So this NCS staff will be a project manager, he will be an architect, and he will serve as a project manager to liaise with the HD during the construction period. There will be an administrative assistant to be hired, and he will be responsible for planning and calling meetings, convening meetings, and so on. So the works do fall under the ambit of HD or HA, but then the district office has an important liaison role to play, so hence the staff to be brought in. I hope that they can expedite the Meifu project. The earlier the project can be pinned down, then the better it is for us in terms of budgeting. Now, I am just afraid that the Meifu project will end up with insufficient money. Well, why are we presenting the two proposals at different timing? Because we want to proceed first with whatever is ready. We want to dovetail the project with the Sheki Mei Housing Estate Redevelopment Plan. Mr. Chair should be very familiar with this. We need to conduct feasibility study and engineering study. So once that has been done, we take the first opportunity to come to the panel and the PEWC and FC. Now, for the Meifu project, work is proceeding in full steam, and I think we can present the proposal the earliest to the panel in March, and then thereafter we can seek funding from the FC. So this is the approach that we are going by. We hope to expedite everything. Next one, Mr. Frederick Fung, Madam Chair. I fully support this project. I sit on the District Council. I participate in the planning of this project. We've consulted many NGOs, community bodies, elderly groups on this project. So this is an outcome. of our consultation. This is a service project serving residents in the Shamshepo district. Now, a major part of the funds will be spent on building the hardware, but I'm worried about the sustainability of the project. Now, this time, someone, Polan Cook, say that we'll shoulder the project. So what happens after 8 years if they are not willing to continue with it? What will happen? So we want to have this 1+1 effect, so to speak. So I think this is a good direction. I'm worried about the sustainability. Second, I would like to say this to Mr. Tan Ka-Piu. The LegCo's responsibility to scrutinize finances. This is a duty enshrined in the Basic Law. Now, Mr. Tan Ka-Piu must know that the district councils are sort of subsidiaries under the HAB, and if anything untoward's happening, we should take the HAB to task and not the district council to task. So what you said entails an overall overhaul of the administrative system. Now, we mentioned this in 1998 for the administration system. We should have the district councils independent of the government, just like the urban council. Now, once we have provided a budget, say, for the urban council back then, their revenue came from rates. Then once we allocated the rates to them, then they could use the sum independently. So they are just like the housing authority, and then they can function independently of the LegCo. Well, don't blame what is happening on the LegCo, because the government didn't take our advice and they didn't go along the route that we suggested. Thirdly, I would like to explain a bit further. Why do we present this proposal first? Because we have to dovetail the timetable of the redevelopment project of the Housing Authority, because we are a part of that project. Now, they have started the piling works, and if we still haven't got the funding approval, then there will be a non-starter. So we have to present this proposal first, and we hope that members can support this project. When the project gets to PWSC and FC, I will help lobby support from other members. Now it's my turn. Annex 7 is not a progress report. It's just a list of the preliminary proposals. I'm asking for the progress of works and not just a list of the projects. $100 million, this fund. Well, people criticized it as being a window dressing exercise, but I thank the district councils for taking forward all these projects. Have been very innovative. They came up with excellent projects, and Shamshepo is a very good example. For $100 million, you can have 2 service centers which provide very good services to residents in the district. Now, if the Shakib May Community Service Center is going to be really commissioned, then it will provide all kinds of services. Now, if not for this 100 million funds, and we have to go down the normal procedures, then we'll never get this community service center. So I must pass these fair comments, because this fund will help district council come up with innovative proposals that can actually help people of Hong Kong and the residents. Well, as some members said, there is a risk in all these projects. Up to now, the government is saying that they are allocating just $100 million. That's been filibustering at PWSC and FC. And then I don't know whether there will be a deadline for your tendering exercise. And if there are delays, I don't know what will happen. Now, as also one member said, the Poland Cook we don't know how long the commitment will be. And for the Kwaicheng district project is again a very good project providing dental services. Now the services may be commissioned in the beginning, but then if they are not sustainable and they have to be closed down in the end, then that will send political shock across the community. So have you made a risk assessment of these projects? Have you got any measures in mind on minimize such risk related not only to the Shamshui-Po project, but to projects of other districts as well? Madam Chair, you are very right. What we hope to achieve through these signature projects is that there is sustainability in these projects. For this present project, you will notice that Po Lang Kok is running the project on a self-financing basis. They may have to utilize resources, may have to fundraise for the projects, and they may have to rent out certain facilities, the hardware, to generate income to achieve self-financing in the long term. In the design of the project, we understand that there may be operational difficulties in the initial period of operations, and in the funding, we are using 5%, around $2.6 million to offset the operating costs for Po Lang Kok. For the Kwaicheng project, is the same. When we work with the partners, we ask them when the funding from the government has been used up, what measures will you use to make sure that the project can be self-financing, can continue? Well, the partners have come up with certain measures to assure us that the projects can be sustainable. Well, this is very much a trial scheme, and you would make some evaluation and conclusion in the end. So please take heed of members' comments in your review. Mr. Lam asked for a progress report of the signature projects. I think this is a concern shared by many members, and we are concerned how come that the projects have not been presented to us as of today. So can you give us the progress report, timetable? Can you give us some brief information now? For the 18 projects, there are 18 districts, there are 27 projects. And the panel has approved for 2 projects. One of them has been given the funding approval from the FC. Now for the Wong Tai Shin project, that has been approved. And for the remaining projects, 19 of them, we hope to forward all these 19 projects to the panel within this legislative session. And for the remaining 6 projects, we hope to get the approval or the support from the panel in the next legislative session. So next time when you come back to the panel, can you give us the latest update of the progress of these projects? Because we want to see these done as soon as possible. Members, do you have any other comments? If not, then Mr. Tang, you have a motion. Dr. N. Zhang and I have a motion to move. Well, we just received it. We have to make a photocopy. Do you have a projector? Can we show it on the screen? We have to. Well, can you read it out? I've just received this motion moved by Mr. Tang Ka-ping, seconded by Dr. N. Zhang. This panel urges the government to delegate the authority of making decisions to the district councils to approve signature projects and to enhance their efficiency or effectiveness in providing services to residents of their community.
Do we need to have hard copies? Do we have a projector or a visualizer here? Please be quick then. Bureau Director, I think this motion involves constitutional arrangement. Is it appropriate to move and carry such a motion in this panel? I think you have to deliberate on that. Mr. Tang, would you please speak? Madam Chairman, this is a motion with no binding effect. Even if it is carried, it won't become law. It won't be a court decision. It's only to manifest our attitude. Besides, when the PWSC handles projects, it categorizes the projects into different categories. $10 million and $30 million are the thresholds. So the most important point is whether or not the LegCo agrees and approves. And $30 million is not in the basic law. Well, let's move this. Let's discuss this issue first. Is this in order? In accordance with our rules of procedure, we first of all have to decide whether or not this motion is directly related to the agenda. This motion, moved and seconded by Mr. Tang and Dr. Chiang, respectively. The Sham Shui Po signature project has not been mentioned in the motion, although the pretext is Sham Shui Po signature project. You want to speak? Yes. I want Mr. Tang Ka-piu and Dr. Chiang Lai-wan to understand that at the moment, the district council does not pocket any government money. It's the bureau director who pockets the money. Any checks or financial documents have to be signed by the Secretary for Home Affairs. So even if the district council gets some money, it won't have a pocket to hold it. So constitutionally, and under the basic law, the district council is not a public institution. It's not like the housing authority or the URA. So the district council does not have real power. So I agree with the SHA that this motion is or involves constitutional issues. Perhaps the mover can modify the content of the motion. Dr. Chiang, you want to comment? Yes, Chairman. There are urgent district projects to be implemented, and very often the budget exceeds $10 million or tens of millions of dollars. But for such projects with such a scale of budget, the district councils have to come to the LegCo. They have to proceed with design work, etc. I think district councillors are more familiar with these aspects than we. And now we have to discuss such projects. The district council concerned has been discussing this for 1 year or even 2 years, but now they have to come to us, and our PWSC may have to scrutinize the design of the facility. This motion has no binding effect. We just want the administration to be more determined and work harder on these matters. Of course, if you want to clarify certain issues, we can assure you that we'll confine ourselves to the jurisdiction of the basic law. These are my viewpoints as the seconder. Well, the motion itself is very clear. Sham Shui Po District Council is proposing this signature project. So the two honorable members, can you modify the motion to suit the agenda item? Because under the rules of procedure, such a motion has to be directly related to our agenda items. If I'm to extend that, it will impact on future exercises. This panel urges the administration to enhance its determination and give more power to the district councils to upgrade the autonomy of district councils in terms of finance and signature and district project, and strive for authorization from the LegCo to empower district councils to make their own decisions and endorse signature projects so as to enhance service efficiency earlier to serve district residents. SHA, in fact, every time when we have such projects, we do come here to LegCo very expeditiously. I appreciate the good intention of the two honorable members, but then this has something to do with Constitution. Can we ask the two honorable members to reconsider this? Can they move this motion on other occasions or at the next meeting of this panel? It won't be too late, even if they are to do so. Should we carry such a motion so hastily? Although it has no binding effect, we should be held responsible for each and every motion passed. Deputy Chairman, Madam Chairman, we're discussing Sham Shui Po today. In the motion is Sham Shui Po, but in fact, it involves all 18 districts in Hong Kong. So it involves a very significant issue, an important issue. So the motion is not clear enough. I urge the two members to withdraw the motion and think more clearly about that. Mr. Tang, would you consider these views? Well, if the motion is really carried and as a result, the project will be further delayed, then we may be paving the road to hell with good intentions. So we're willing to withdraw that motion. Oh, thank you very much then. So do members support the onward submission of this proposal to the PWSE and the FC? Okay, so we'll work in accordance with established arrangements. Let's proceed to the next item on the agenda. Progress report of pilot scheme on enhancement of district administration through district management committees. Please invite the government representatives to come in. Our Secretariat has prepared some background information to members. That has already been distributed to members. SHA Chairman, early this year, the CE in his policy address announced that in Sham Shui Po and Yuen Long, a pilot scheme be put in place to allow district management committees, DMCs, to have decision-making powers to manage environment, hygiene problems, etc., and to propose priorities to the district councils. The district officer is the chairman of the DMC, with members like the DC chairman and vice chairman. District representatives of government departments are also involved. In April, senior government officials supported such a proposal, that is, to give decision-making powers to district councils and to allow them to work out the priorities. And $5 million were earmarked for this pilot scheme, including the spending on manpower. Sham Shui Po will enhance its support for street sleepers and those buildings with nothing for management. They have nothing buildings, to eradicate illegally parked bicycles as well as anti-mosquito efforts and grass cutting, and the curbing of shopfront extensions as well. All these have proved to be effective and successful. So it's a manifestation of cross or interdepartmental effort as well as cross-district collaboration. District councils have served a synergy role with matching efforts from supporting departments. In order to enhance district work, district councils will participate more in decision-making. The HAD has prepared a video on this pilot scheme. So I invite members to watch the video first before I invite the Sham Shui Po and Yuen Long District Council Chairman to elaborate.
區當中有唔少長者及低收入家庭居住，區內多年嚟嘅露宿者人數為數不少。點樣支援佢哋，又能夠改善環境衛生，係處理問題嘅關鍵。
我哋區裏邊咧，亦都有唔少嘅三無大廈。而三無大廈嘅周邊環境咧，特別係後巷咧，目前個衛生環境都唔理想嘅。係透過提升大廈嘅管理質素同埋改善環境衛生咧，係尤為重要嘅。
所以咧，地區行政先導計劃咧，正好為我哋提供咗一個契機，去處理呢兩個無論係區議會同埋區管會都非常重視嘅議題。
社署咧就擔當一個橋梁嘅角色，聯繫翻喺區裏邊咧服務露宿者嘅機構啦，咁同埋加強同其他政府部門嘅合作，大家建立一個互信嘅關係。
審問計劃其實希望以關愛出發啦，內容咧包括個案跟進啦、外展探訪啦、動力同埋能力嘅培訓啦。咁我哋仲有一啲嘅小組活動，譬如生命教育小組、義工小組，同埋我哋亦都會有定期嘅呢個大型嘅清潔行動咧，希望可以改善翻環境嘅衞生。
由8月至10月底，已經進行31次外展探訪，探訪人數約2000人次，有13人成功上樓，並為22名露宿者啟動個案作深入協助。
民政處咧，除咗加強同各個部門嘅合作之外咧，亦都聯絡咗地區上面嘅熱心人士同埋機構，利用我哋嘅社區資本，為露宿者咧提供額外嘅支援，例如係培訓津貼啊，或者係添置家具等等。
呢個計劃咧係得到好多唔同嘅媒體嘅正面嘅評價，而區議會咧亦都好高興咧係睇到喺各部門嘅通力合作之後咧係初見成效嘅。
民政處咧係會繼續聆聽區議會同埋居民嘅意見，亦都會繼續同各個部門努力合作，希望可以成功咁推展呢個計劃。
喺支援三無大廈方面咧，區議會係同意咧係以改善環境衛生作為切入點，以鼓勵居民咧係提升大廈嘅管理質素。
得到食環署嘅支援同埋係計劃之下嘅額外資源咧，我哋聘用咗清潔承辦商去清洗80多棟目標大廈嘅公用部分，同埋係40多條嘅後巷嘅。透過朝洗晚訪呢個策略，我哋會喺清洗嘅當晚進行家訪，藉以鼓勵我哋嘅業戶咧係成為居民聯絡大使，或者係鼓勵佢哋咧籌組法團。
咁咪成立咗法團當然好啦嚇，民政處大力幫手，同埋區議員嗰啲拍檔又幫手，希望做好呢件事咁解咯。
我哋亦都加強宣傳同埋推廣嘅工作，包括咧已經舉辦咗5場嘅專題講座同埋黃昏茶聚啦。我哋亦都出版居民聯絡大使通訊，希望藉此咧向居民傳遞更多關於樓宇管理嘅資訊。
目前計劃進展理想，直至10月底。已經有6棟大廈申請註冊業主立案法團，49位居民登記成為居民聯絡大使。元朗市天水圍鄉郊區組成城鄉共融嘅元朗區。元朗市人多路窄，部分商鋪違例擴展，阻礙通道。天水圍唔少居民以單車代步，部分人違例停泊，鄉郊植被茂密。特別需要注意環境衛生。
元朗區議會致力改善區內嘅生活環境，區議員都積極參與呢一次嘅先導計劃，向民政事務處等部門提供咗有用嘅意見。區議會建議加強宣傳及執法嘅策略，處理需要跨部門合作，而且可以喺計劃期內睇到成效嘅地區問題， 地區管理委員會已經係接納所有嘅建議。
民政處感謝區議會大力嘅支持，區管會會按照持續性、規模、嚴重性同埋地域分佈，決定優先處理店鋪違例擴展，例如清理地台、非法構築物等等，亦都會清理違例停泊嘅單車，同埋加強滅蚊剪草嘅工作，並且會排列行動地點嘅優次。政府部門包括元朗民政處、元朗地政處同埋屋宇處喺先導計劃之下得到額外人手同埋撥款，提高部門間嘅協調同埋處理能力。區管會定出4個行動地點，共6條街道，由民政處、元朗地政處、屋宇處同埋香港警務處聯合處理。第一個行動地點御景坊同康景街，經過勸喻同埋收到執法通告後，約一半超過30間有關嘅店鋪自行清除違例搭建地台同構築物，得到區議會同商戶支持以及部門協調，市容已經初步改善，行動效率顯著提升，至到17個月嘅計劃期之內處理6條街道、數百個店鋪。區議員提交清理違例停泊單車行動地點共40個，大部分喺天水圍，亦包括元朗市及鄉郊區。喺先導計劃開始7個多月以嚟，民政處、地政處同食環署已經聯合清理同一地點4次。
喺違泊單車方面，元朗地政處由4月直至今年年底參與咗4次聯合行動，幫助檢取違泊單車。
區議員身體力行，向公眾解釋，民政處已經喺天水圍各地點懸掛橫額及合法泊位指示圖，又喺11月中舉辦單車停泊要合法，切勿違例隨街泊大型宣傳活動。區議員更建議增加合法單車泊位，運輸署已經同意喺9個地點加泊位，路政署將施工。為咗改善鄉郊環境衛生及防蚊，區議員建議超過40個剪草行動地點，並聯同部門作考察。喺先導計劃下，部門更有效咁協調工作，共同行動。宣傳教育方面，民政處喺6月及7月向區議員同埋鄉事委員會派發宣傳單張及滅蚊產品，透過佢哋派發滅蚊油等物資，鼓勵私人土地擁有人參與防蚊工作。
食環署致力參與先導計劃下行動處理嘅3個地區問題，特別係防治蚊患方面。自從天水圍今年6月出現第一宗本地感染日本腦炎個案之後呢，已經大力加強工作，並配合先導計劃，針對蚊患風險高嘅地點。
元朗區先導計劃初見成效，部門提升處理效率及市容整潔，區議員積極參與，行動地點更切合社區需要，獲地區人士支持。我哋會密切監察進度，並喺2015年8月先導計劃完結後進行檢討。多謝收看。
好
Well, I would like to exercise my discretion to extend the meeting time if members don't have any objection. Well, the meeting will last till 11. Well, so we do have sufficient time. 2 members have requested to speak. Any other member wishing to speak who have not raised their hands? Tan Ka Piu, Fong Kim Kay, Vice Chairman, and myself. 4 minutes. Mr. Tan Ka Piu. Thank you, Madam Chair. The 2 district council chairmen and HAD colleagues, and also residents and charitable bodies in the district have worked hand in hand to resolve long-standing problems in the district. Now, through concerted efforts, some problems can be resolved. For example, 3 nil buildings in Shamshepo, owners' corporations have been set up, and that's good. Now, what about grass cutting? Now, if you do one exercise of grass cutting, the grass can grow quickly afterwards. Now, if you have learned good experience from such initiatives, and those involve the operation of government departments, and, well, can we sustain such efforts after the exercises? For example, grass cutting. Now, we may bring in contractors and for the exercise, and perhaps after the exercise we found that it is better that the grass cutting be done by civil servants instead of contracting out the service to subcontractors. Then that you may learn that experience. Would you be doing something and to do that and ask the relevant government departments to change their way of handling things? Director. The pilot scheme has been implemented for just 8 months, and the pilot scheme is successful. And one of the reasons is that it is implemented based on public demands, and the district office has lengthy discussions on what problems are most prominent in the district. Well, there may be many problems at the district level. So what priorities should be set, and also how we should sustain such efforts. For this pilot scheme, we have earmarked extra resources for these two districts, resources in money terms and also in manpower. We want to sustain our efforts. So resources become very important. And in the past, because of resource constraints, some problems could not be eradicated totally. And we now see that with additional resources, government departments can do a much better job. But then if you talk about exercises which involve major policies, we do have a mechanism to take the matter to the District Administration Steering Committee, and that through that committee we can bring the issue to the attention to the Secretary, and the Secretary can take up the matter and see how the matter can be resolved. But then for many matters at the district level, they may not involve territory-wide policies. They may involve minor policies, and we hope that the experience gained from these pilot schemes can help us learn more how to do a better job on district management. When will the pilot scheme be rolled out in other districts? Well, this pilot scheme will last till August 2015, and then after that we'll see whether it should be expanded to other districts. Mr. Frederick Fung. When the project was discussed at the Shamshui-Po District Council, I had a debate with the district officer, and I had the question, who took the lead? I think the district council should take the lead, but then this, in reality now, is the district officer who takes the lead, is the executive body leading a group of district councillors to deal with problems particular to that district. Now, for these two matters, they were raised by the district officer himself. I think we should do it the other way around. If the project is led by the district council, so the district council should take the lead in proposing the projects to undertake. Now, I said I raised in 1998 that there should be an overhaul in the district administration, and the authority and power should be fully delegated to the district council, and the district council should rather serve as a board, so to speak, and then the CE would be the district council, district officer. Now, we are seeing that the district council being led by the district officer. I don't agree with that kind of administrative arrangement or structure. Second point, the secretary said that they will support the district council in all respects, including manpower and money. Now, what about power, authority. If we don't have the authority or power, would you delegate the authority to the district council? Would you be just delegating the authority to the district officer? Now, if the power is delegated to the district council, then the district council can make appointments and meet with different government departments to get things done. So this is point number one. Number two, street sleepers in 3 new buildings in Sham Shui Po. I think you are being very courageous in taking up these projects. For street sleepers, we started working on them in 2005. District officer and the district councillors, and we have worked on that, and we've also solicited support from some rich people. And we set up some street sleepers' homes. And we set up a street sleepers committee, and I was one of the members of that committee as well. Now, the problem with the street sleepers was not, has nothing to do with their sleeping on the street, but rather with the medical problems, their family problems, and other problems. So please don't turn the problem into a simple problem, saying that it's just a problem of sleeping on the street. You just clean up the street and then the problem is resolved. That's not the case. Their problems are family problems, housing problems. How do you deal with their housing problems? Do you provide public housing estates to them, or would you do it like what we did last time, asking some wealthy people to set up a street sleepers homes for them? Well, back then, some street sleepers moved out of the street sleepers homes after 3 months, and they went back to sleep on the street. Now, what about medical problem? What are you going to do to them? Now, street sleepers are also becoming younger and younger, and young people couldn't find a job which offers a reasonable pay, and then they will again sleep on the streets. So I don't think you should not just ask the district council to deal with all these problems. You are just passing on the buck onto the district council. Sham Shui Po, any response from you? Well, we started dealing with the street sleepers problems in mid-80s, and that originated from the problem of Vietnamese refugees. There were many street sleepers back then in Shak Kip Mei, and many of them still are street sleepers up to this very day. The district councillor held seminars with street sleepers in community hall to understand their needs. Apart from housing problems, street sleepers have their own family problems, health problems, and there is also another problem. Some of them are drug abusers. They've been in the district for a long time. Since 15th of September 2012, 10 district councillors exchanged views with street sleepers. We told them what their problems are, residents' views towards them. We also collected views from street sleepers. They told us that it's because they didn't have a detailed address and they couldn't receive mails, and so if they were offered a PRH, they couldn't get one. So this is a very bold attempt of ours to work on street sleepers, and the district council must work on them. We are brave, yes. So the choice of street sleeper as for pilot scheme is not made just by the DMC, but also the district councillors. We want to start out with showing care and concern for the street sleepers. We've hired some social workers from SoCo who regularly visit them to try to understand their situation. In the 80s, we asked some rich people to provide resources for these street sleepers. Today, we would also be similarly using community resources to help the street sleepers. Well, that's the approach very similar to that adopted in the past. We want to show sincerity and concern or care to the street sleepers. This is a difficult matter to work on, but then still we have to work on it. If we don't do that, we won't be able to respond to residents' demands for resolving the problem. We agree that they are part of our community.
Next, Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Well, this pilot scheme is a good thing. Through these 2 districts, we can study dedicated issues as well as long-standing issues to see how we can resolve them. However, I don't see the direction ahead in the long run. Well, $5 million is to be given to each district as a start, and then NCSE staff members would be hired to do the job. And then by August 2015, the money would be used up. Now, these are long-standing issues and long-term issues. So how will the government go about it upon the completion of the pilot scheme? Will the government just ask the respective districts to handle the aftermath? Well, just now the SHA said that the pilot scheme has been effective. But what about the long-term approach? Director? Well, these 2 pilot schemes are very good. We are very confident that other district councils would like to have similar schemes and resources for their respective districts for district work. All along, we very much respect the views of district councils. Well, it's not like what Mr. Frederick Fong said, who's the leader, who's the major role, etc., etc. In fact, all parties concerned actively collaborate with one another. Now, what will come next? Which aspects of district work will be covered? Through this pilot scheme, we'll thoroughly study the issue. The district councils have gone through a long period of discussion before arriving at a consensus on what projects to be carried out in which district. The pilot scheme will conclude in August 2015. Well, this $5 million is a one-off grant. But all these issues like street sleepers and 3 new buildings, they'll be with us all along. So what will come next? Well, as this is a pilot scheme, the allocation will be a one-off one. In the long run, through funding allocation to district councils, similar projects can be sustained. So when such proposals come to the LegCo, I would like to have LegCo's support. So in future, will you only focus on these 2 districts? Or are you going to apply the scheme to all 18 districts? Or are you going to wait till the respective districts come up with proposals? As I said, the other districts also know that the scheme has been very successful and effective in these 2 districts. So in future, they would like to have similar projects. At the moment, this is a pilot scheme. In future, this shouldn't be the case anymore. So we'll see what will come next. Next, Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. Chairman, apart from district matters being managed at the different level for sports and leisure issues, as this pilot scheme has received very good feedback, can we extend the pilot scheme by covering sports and recreational facilities such that district councils can manage them as well and do their district work better? Or in other districts, we can have another pilot scheme to cover different aspects. Director, for this pilot scheme, it actually focuses on the CE's proposal of resolving district matters at the district level and is all about the long-standing problems. So at the moment, we suggest that district matters be resolved at the district level. In future, we would like to attain something in terms of district opportunities, so to speak. For example, certain districts may have better potential for developing tourism. So in the next stage, maybe we can proceed to another approach, that is district opportunities to be grasped at the district level. Let me cite an example, football. If you give more resources to the districts, then the districts can mobilize their resources, including manpower, to develop their strengths. So we don't always need to have territory-wide efforts. So probably you can carry out further pilot schemes in other districts. SHA, the crux of this pilot scheme is to allow the district councils themselves to decide what to do. If a district council is of the view that priority should be given to, say, sports or culture, we would be very happy to offer our support. Mr. Stephen Ho, I'd like to thank the 2 district officers and the 2 DC chairmen. $5 million are allocated to each of the 2 districts as a startup fund. Mrs. Tan said that further resources will be given to district councils. But of course, each district council is different. Grass cutting may be cheaper, but other work may be more expensive. So the level of funding may also vary. So what will we do in future? Say one district may need $100 million. That's an assumption only. But the neighboring district may need $500 million. Mrs. Tan, first of all, we have to conduct a review on this pilot scheme. Apart from a final review, we can also have an interim review. Yes, if we want to continue to perform well, we need more resources. Should we give different sums to different district councils or a similar sum to each district council? It depends on the projects proposed. We very much want to respect the views of district councils in this regard. Collaboration between district officers and district councils are very important. Well, for this district, if I give it $5 million, it can, of course, tailor its needs according to its means. But what should help next? It's highly likely that funding proposals will have to come to the LegCo. So if the funding level varies too much among different districts, LegCo will find it difficult to make a decision. Well, Mr. Chairman, this pilot scheme is a good thing. Well, Mr. Wuchiwa, yes, this pilot scheme is a good thing. I don't quite agree with the remarks just now. We're not talking about highly difficult matters. We're talking about 3 new buildings, street sleepers, and so forth. Well, by and large, each district has experienced similar problems. Through this pilot scheme, if the approach can be adopted in 2 districts, then of course it should be extended to other districts. Otherwise, it's meaningless to say that this is a pilot scheme. By calling it pilot scheme, your intention was to try it out, and if it turns out to be successful, to extend it to other districts, such that other districts can duplicate the experience of Sham Shui Po. So if you do not continue with this pilot scheme, you're actually wasting all effort spent on it. It's just like the CCF. Mr. Matthew Chung, the Bureau Director, mentioned a number of times that when a pilot scheme proves to be successful, it can be extended to other areas. So it's meaningless to discuss whether or not it should be $5 million or another sum. Follow the logic. If it is a pilot scheme, if it is successful, then it is meant to be extended to other districts. I think the Bureau Director was going round and round without leading us anywhere. He mentioned special circumstances in a district. But special circumstances are special. Apart from special circumstances, all the 18 districts have common experience and common problems to share. Director, for this pilot scheme, apart from identifying the problems in the districts involved, the more important point is to identify a modus operandi. District councils represent public opinion. District councils can... Sorry, Chairman, I have to interrupt her. Well, this pilot scheme will have to go through an assessment mechanism on your part. If you find the pilot scheme practicable, how will you change it into policies to be adopted in all the 18 districts? We'll allow the director to respond first. Chairman, there are 4 aspects here. Number 1, as I said, district councils are representatives of public opinion. And then district officers are there to coordinate the work of different departments. And then we come to implementation. For this pilot scheme, we can see that through certain changes, the 4 aspects can be amalgamated to produce fruits. So we've established those modus operandi.
Next one is my turn. I think this pilot scheme is a good start. There have been criticisms that district councillors are dealing with minor matters only. I don't think this is fair. And then the district council meetings are just talk shops, and long-standing problems have never been resolved. Yuen Long, Sham Shui Po, no solution to problems. And other districts come with their own problems. So the concept of pilot scheme is very good, that district matters should be resolved at the district level. And this time round, we've given more resources to resolve any problems, and the district officer should play a coordinating role in the pilot scheme. It seems that no substantive power has been given, additional substantive power has been given to the district officer. Now, district officer, you are the frontline coordinators here. You have additional resources, but you don't have extra power given to you, and you have to do coordination. What is the actual effect that you think you have achieved, and what are the problems you are going to face if the pilot scheme you face, and if the pilot scheme is going to be extended to other areas? What are areas that warrant our attention? Sham Shui Po District Officer. The problems that we work on are really serious problems in the Sham Shui Po district. It's not that we haven't been dealing with such a problem. We've been working on it for a long time through different approaches. Now, with additional resources coming from the pilot scheme, then we can do more. A decision-making power is manifested in different ways. In this pilot scheme, well, it is known to all government departments, and everyone understands that through this pilot scheme, we can enhance district management and then deal with problems more effectively. So, in one way or another, our decision-making power has been boosted because different government departments know about this pilot scheme. So, in my coordination work, then I get the support from various government departments. Let me cite a very simple example: FEHD. There is a Tung Chau Street public toilet. In the past, well, the toilet is just opened in the same hours when the market is open. Well, we used to have difficulties in changing the opening hours. Now, in our meeting with the street sleepers told us that if the public toilet can be opened at night, then it would be very good, and it can also help resolve hygiene problems. After our discussions with the FEHD did something internally, and they changed the service contract model so that the public toilets can be opened round the clock instead of just being open during the market opening hours. So, based on our surveys, there are really some people using the toilet during night time. Some 50 people use that toilet in the evening. So that breaks out of the established practice, and under this pilot scheme, everybody is willing to work an extra mile and do more and take a pragmatic approach to resolve problems. Yuen Long District Officer. Thank you, Madam Chair. In Yuen Long District, the decision-making power is given over to the DMC, chaired by the district officer. At the district management committee, we do have the chairman, vice chairman, and also the vice chairman, the chairman of the various working groups under the DC. And we attach a lot of importance to gathering views from the district council to choose the areas to work on and to solicit their views all along. So the decision-making power is vested with the DMC, and we get also support from the district councillors on deciding what problems to resolve in the district. Now, because of this, the government departments have played a more active role in taking forward this scheme. Say, for example, in enforcing the law, they would have less worry because the public opinion is on their side and district councillors are on their side as well. So, and the additional resources also help a lot. In Yuen Long, we have 3 extra staff members helping us out in 3 different government departments, and that helps a lot. And we also learned this. Now, district councillors from various backgrounds have been very supportive, and they have actually gone down to the districts to explain to the residents and did site visits of the project and so on. And that's why we've been able to achieve very good results. So these are the factors for the success of the pilot scheme. Second round, Mr. Wu Chi-wai and myself. Any other member wishing to speak for the second time? Mr. Frederick Fong. 3 minutes then, please. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Madam Chair, thank you. The director's remarks go to show, prove what I said is true. Now, we've made so much efforts at the district council level to consolidate views from various parties to come up with the best solution. And this best solution should be promoted territory-wide and should be applicable to other districts as well. So this is my question. Now let me cite an example. 3 new buildings. The Shanghai District Council said that it's asking the FEHD is engaging a third-party service contractor to deal with the problem. This is a block management approach. Now, if this approach works in Shamshui-Po, how come that it doesn't work in Kwun Tong or Wong Tai Sin? And if it works, why does it have to be made a special project lasting for only 2 years? Is it that after years, 3 new buildings are no longer there? The problem is no longer there? If the solution works, then why don't you adopt it and regularize the program and use public funds and to make it a territory-wide policy? Now, if we don't do that, the very good lessons that we learned from the pilot scheme will be going down the drain. It will be wasted. And then people in Wong Tai Sin will have to think afresh again, oh, how should we deal with the street sleepers problem? So this is not, we're not getting the best out of what we did with the pilot scheme. Secretary, I appreciate Mr. Wu's comments. Upon the completion of the pilot scheme, we will review and evaluate the scheme, and it will cover many aspects, including internal administration, and second, as what the director said, how do we work together with the district council and the community, and also, as what Mr. Wu said, if the work approach can be extended territory-wide, and that would also definitely be made part of the government policy. Mr. Frederick Fong, I totally agree with Mr. Wu's comments. If there are good lessons to be learned from these 2 districts, the work models, the impact, and the results should serve as a reference for other districts or copied in total as the work approach for other districts. For example, 3 new buildings, Kwun Tong, Wan Chai Chun Wan, Western District. Well, all these districts can adopt this 3 new building work approach. Second point about authority. There are 2 types of authority. There is 1 level of authority at the district office and district officer and district council level. What about the other level of authority that has to do with problems of street sleepers, like getting a job, housing, family problems, and so on? Can priority be given to dealing with street sleepers' problems? so that we can achieve better results earlier. Now, in terms of hygiene problems and cleanliness problems, if these are identified as urgent problems in other districts as well, then can other districts expedite resolving these problems as soon as possible as well? Well, the committee of the pilot scheme should have the power to set these priorities, and then the other government departments should try to collaborate and work together with the committee on those. We should not handing over the authority to the district officer all the time. I think the district council should serve as a board, so to speak, and then the executive arm should comprise the district officer and the chairman of the district council. Should we set up a structure like that? The pilot scheme is silent on this. Can this pilot scheme, under the pilot scheme, we can also conduct a study on that topic? Should there be a division of power between the district council and district officer? Should these be set out very clearly? I would first make 2 points. Mr. Frederick Fong mentioned about whether frontline staff of government departments can help out. Now, as what is shown on the video, the frontline staff of SWD have been helping out a lot. Well, we should not just limit ourselves to the work of the government departments. We have been using many community resources, the NGOs and resources in the community. So we work together with all these factors and achieve good results. Second point. Why do we empower the DMC in this pilot scheme to do work? And because we need someone to make coordination and among various government departments, and the DMC serves as a good platform for coordination. Chairman, to the district council's understanding, the pilot scheme has to be agreed by the district council in terms of the priority areas, and then the district officer will then get on with the work. The district council doesn't have our own manpower, but anyway, the district council's approval is given first. Now, second, now in the past, if we asked departments to allocate extra resources to get something done, just like in the case of the public toilet, but in the pilot scheme, the government departments are willing to make extra efforts to redeploy their resources. So now in the pilot scheme, the district officer is given extra power, and at the government department level, well, we don't need the approval from the director of the government department to get something done. And all we need is to ask the district officer to coordinate and to make the request. So this is what we are doing now. Now, the same for SWD. Now, SWD has been doing whatever it has been doing in the past, but the approach it now takes is very different. It's obviously very different. You can tell the difference. The SWD will spend more time, and there is more follow-up work. In the past, well, that is lacking. Mr. Leung.
Concerning Mr. Feng's remarks, I have to say that I also have my views on this. That is, I very much want district councils to be able to make decisions on district matters. The district officer is a coordinator. It's reasonable for him to coordinate the efforts of government departments concerned. But the district office will only implement something with the endorsement of the district council. Take, for example, the bicycles. We have a bi-monthly cycle at the moment. In the past, we had a half-year cycle. Anyway, the decision-making power is vested in the district council. This pilot scheme is actually proposing something like the former two municipal councils. That is, councillors make decisions and the departments are responsible for implementation. Well, we have to explore further the concept of district matters being resolved at the district level. Money cannot solve everything. But of course, if you have the money and the people, it's better. It's just like a public toilet. If you don't have extra resources, you cannot extend its opening hours. It's just like the bicycle problem in Yuen Long. If they get more people, then of course it's better. So more resources and more manpower will help ease problems. That's why within a short period of time, the scheme should be able to be extended to all 18 districts. I of course agree that certain problems are common to all districts, like the 3 new buildings. Anyway, in order that district matters can be resolved at the district level, we shouldn't just consider money. Authority and the constitutional framework are important elements to be considered. So apart from money, we should also enhance coordination. So we should enhance the role of the district officers before we can attain district matters resolved at the district level. Take, for example, street obstruction. Different districts have different demands, but we work under one piece of legislation. So we really have to identify the direction ahead such that district opportunities can be grasped at the district level and district matters can be resolved at the district level as well. Can we conclude here? Mr. Long, please be brief. Well, the officials and the bureau director won't say this. In my opinion, resources is one factor of consideration. But without manpower, you can't do anything. Well, in this particular pilot scheme, the FEHD got no additional manpower for it. But some departments can redeploy their resources internally. Take, for example, 100 more people were brought in with the window inspection scheme and building inspection scheme. All right, so we would like to extend this pilot scheme as soon as possible to all the remaining districts. All right, so much for this item. ALB, the panel will have an informal meeting right after this meeting or at 11 o'clock to discuss the draft proposal for the Olympics. So those members who have signed up, please proceed to conference room 5, all right? If there's no further business, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.